The first 3 months of this year were violent, brutal, and unsafe for many South Africans, according to the latest crime statistics released in the country. The fourth quarter crime statistics for the period of January, 1st of January to the end of March 2022 painted a bleak picture of the last 3 months. In the first 3 months of 2022, 6,083 people were murdered in the country.
According to the statistics, alcohol played a role in this murder rate. There were 156 murders that took place on licensed properties such as pubs, nightclubs, and taverns. There were also close to 200 attempted murders, 59 rapes, and more than 1,900 cases of grievous bodily harm and assault at liquor outlets. Now, joining us this morning is Maurice Smithers, Executive Director of the South African Alcohol Policy Alliance. Good morning, Maurice.
Morning, how are you?
Very well, thanks for joining us. Please help put these statistics into context. They are only, of course, for 3 months of the year. Are they unusually high, or has this been the trend in South Africa lately?
Look, the trend in South Africa has unfortunately been very bad over the last few years. In fact, the statistics from the police indicate that while there have been some fluctuations over the years, things are not looking good, to be honest. So, for example, if we look at the issue of murder, the numbers show that there's been a consistent increase or stabilization around numbers. Although I must say, in January in this year, the numbers have gone up by at least 1,000 over the past three years. So January to March in 2018 was 4,668. 2019 was 4,896. January to March in 2020 was 459. January to March in 2021 was 4,976. That's close on 5,000. And then this year it's 6,000. So it's a jump of 22.2% over the previous year. And there's been an increase in various others as well. So things are not actually looking good at all. We think that some of the change, particularly from 2020 and 2021, is due to, or 2021 in particular, is due to COVID. Because in COVID, obviously, numbers should have gone down. And now we're pretty much out of COVID. We don't have many COVID regulations. So that could have contributed to an increase. But I think there's deeper problems. There are deeper problems, socioeconomic problems that are leading to an increase in murder, sexual offences, attempted murder, assault, and so on.
Maurice,
so it's not a great situation.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't look great at all, Maurice. These are really quite alarming statistics. What do they tell us about the drinking behavior in Southern Africa?
Look, alcohol has a complicated relationship with violence, and it's really about the fact that, on the one hand, it is the socioeconomic conditions in our society that lead people in some communities to drink more, because it's their way of dealing with reality, of dealing with unemployment, dealing with poverty, dealing with exclusion, just dealing with all this, the socioeconomic pressures they are feeling. But then, unfortunately, what it does is it leads to people drinking too much and losing control, and then it results in a lot of violence. So, for example, when they talk about the numbers of murders, for example, in different places, they say that in liquor outlets, as you said, 156 murders took place in liquor outlets over that time. The other two, the next highest figures, are in people's residences and in public places. Now, in both of those instances, we know that alcohol is involved as well, because a lot of people drink in public, they drink in open fields, they drink in public spaces, and then they drink in their homes. And there's a lot of domestic violence. 60% of domestic violence cases in South Africa are linked to alcohol. So the fact that it says 156 deaths took place in liquor outlets doesn't tell the whole story. There's of the 1,350 in private residences and the 2,268 in public places, some of those are involve alcohol as well.
So, I mean, it's just really, really mind-boggling. I was, going to ask you if there were other things that alcohol and the increase of, intake of alcohol may be leading to. But I think from the story we already shared that there's also an increase in rape. So it seems like violence somehow, somewhere increases, when there's alcohol consumption, and paints a picture about, the South African society. But let's talk about the Alcohol Policy Alliance now. What does this alliance believe needs to be done to reduce these figures?
Well, we're part of a global network actually of similar alliances. There's one in your region as well called the West African Alcohol Policy Alliance, one in East Africa too, the East African Alcohol Policy Alliance. And all of us are aligned with the World Health Organization's global strategy on reducing alcohol-related harm. And that basically calls for three things. And that is, one is to reduce the availability of alcohol, not to ban it, but to reduce the availability, to make it less easy for people to get access to alcohol. And by that, we mean reducing the number of liquor outlets, reducing the operating hours of liquor outlets, increasing the drinking age, and so on. Just to make it clear that it is a dangerous substance and it needs to be properly managed. The other thing is to increase the cost of alcohol. Part of the problem that we have is that alcohol in South Africa in particular is actually very cheap. I think that a couple of studies have shown that beer is amongst the cheapest in the world in South Africa, and beer is by far the substance that is drunk the most, above spirits and wine. And it's made also in large bottles. Instead of selling it in the smaller 340 or 440 milliliter bottles, it's now sold in 750 milliliters and 1 liter bottles. And as you know, with a beer, once you open it, you can't close it. You've got to drink it if you can't keep it like wine or spirits. And so it encourages people to drink more if it's cheaper. So you can use tax, you can use various other ways of increasing the price of alcohol, not stopping people drinking, but getting people to drink less. And then there's advertising. One of the key things is that alcohol is advertised very, very aggressively all over the world, mainly by these huge global giants, which are based largely in the United States and in Europe, who have footprints in all parts of the world. And in Africa in particular, they are trying to increase their footprint because actually people may not believe this, but the rate of drinking in Africa, generally speaking, is actually lower than in the United States and in Europe. You've got countries in Europe, for example, where
so why then is South Africa's case seeming more violent?
It is, and I think we have a particular history, unfortunately. South Africa, as you know, came not that long ago out of our apartheid past, which was very, very violent past. Apartheid was sustained and maintained through very brutal violence against people, both physical and psychological violence through legislative processes that actually damaged the psyche of a lot of people in the country. And unfortunately, since the end of apartheid, the socioeconomic reality of a lot of people hasn't changed. And so that historical legacy that we have of violence before and the current reality where people are just struggling to survive has unfortunately created circumstances where the pressures that are on people just turn into violence. It's very hard to understand why it should be as bad as it is in South Africa compared to perhaps other parts of Africa where there's been different kinds of violence, perhaps war that is currently happening, and the link between alcohol and violence there. But these are deep sociological factors that we ourselves don't aren't always able to go into ourselves as SAPA. But certainly we have identified alcohol as a key factor. It's not the only factor, and certainly we're not saying that if alcohol was not around or if it was better controlled, that violence would go away. Unfortunately, that's not a reality. There are many other issues that need to be addressed, but certainly alcohol would help.
I mean, you've highlighted a few steps that can be taken to ensure that we reduce the measure of violence, especially linked to alcohol. I wish the South Africa Alcohol Policy Alliance all the best in ensuring that the steps are followed through, and we look forward to seeing positive feedback from South Africa. Thank you very much, Maurice Smithers, for joining us this morning. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much.